So another instant classic in Denver between the Rockets and the Nuggets, and what's been a very entertaining regular season in the NBA. I talked about yesterday in our power ranking segment, if you guys remember, about how much I was really enjoying the Rockets' clutch offense. I just think they get really good shots for a team that doesn't have your traditional point guard or your traditional super high level playmaker, like high level passing talent, right? And they're top 10 in clutch offensive rating this season, and they had a 119 clutch offensive rating against Denver last night. And then you have the Nuggets, who haven't been great statistically in the clutch this season, kind of an outlier for them, but they have the best half court offense in the entire NBA by a pretty decent margin right now. And they've historically been one of the most reliable clutch, kind of like half court slowdown offenses that we've seen. And so a matchup basically between two very high level clutch offenses, and that did not disappoint. We had an epic showdown of high level offense down the stretch and otherworldly shot making. All four stars showed up. I want to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But it was a very, very interesting battle down the stretch. And both teams, essentially, with the way they were attacking on offense, were trying to put the opposing big in action. Everything that both teams were doing on both ends of the floor. There were a handful of like little mix-ups, like Jamal Murray had a possession where he randomly posted up Reed Shepherd and hit a little right shoulder fade. Kevin Durant had a possession where he randomly tried to attack Spencer Jones in the middle of the floor, missed a little right shoulder fadeaway around the left elbow. But other than that, it was a steady diet of attacking for Denver, attacking Sengun in pick and roll, and for Houston, attacking Jokic in pick and roll. And the reason why is because neither team wanted to switch the action. Denver actually tried switching it twice. The play where Sengun hit what could have been the game winner if it wasn't for the late free throw from Jamal Murray. What happened on that play? Two-man game with KD and Sengun. They switch it. That leaves Spencer Jones on Alperen Sengun in the middle of the floor. He powered through him, got to that little right shoulder hook, that lefty hook that put the Rockets up one. And then there was another one. It was a little bit earlier in the game where it was like a little less than 2 minutes left in regulation. Whereas a Reed Shepherd Sengun pick and roll, they also switched it, more of like a peel switch. So Tim Hardaway Jr. ends up peeling off, and Jokic ends up following Reed Shepherd out to the right corner. They try to interchange back, and while Jokic is closing out to Sengun right there around the high, like the charge circle area, Kevin Durant hits Sengun and hits a little easy too. And so when they tried switching it, they gave up a couple of easy buckets. So they were trying really hard not to switch it. And on the other end of the floor, same exact thing. They weren't going to switch Sengun onto Jamal Murray. And so as a result, there were all sorts of these little classic pick and roll sequences that we saw down the tail end of this game against drop coverage looks. So the guard was chasing over the top and the big was coming pretty up close to the level, and both teams were getting good looks out of it. Like we had pocket passes that led to 4-on-3s that led to open corner threes. Spencer Jones got 2 wide open corner threes in the right corner off of tags of Jokic on the roll. Sengun got tagged on a roll that led to a wide open 3 for Jabari Smith in the left corner. A lot of those like classic sequences, right? What are other classic drop coverage sequences? Pull up jump shots. Kevin Durant hits a pull up 3 over Nikola Jokic in a drop coverage on the right wing towards the end of regulation. Reed Shepherd hit a pull up 3 on the left wing against the drop coverage look in crunch time. I was actually amazed at how often Houston was running their ball screen action through Reed Shepherd down the stretch. And, to his credit, most of his reps were good reps. There weren't really any reps in there where I was like, oh, Reed didn't make the right decision or he took a bad shot. As a matter of fact, he pretty much did the right thing on every single one of those reps. But it was just kind of strange that they ran through him as much as they did when Kevin Durant wasn't quite as involved in the offense. Jokic hit a couple of threes. Those were classic kind of pick and pop style actions. I talk about this all the time, but the pick and pop is like the antidote to any sort of drop coverage, because the drop coverage essentially leaves the big sagging back against the ball handler, maybe a little closer to the level, but dealing with the ball handler, and you have the guard chasing over the top. So if the big doesn't roll into the drop coverage, but instead pops out to the three-point line, he's going to be wide open every single time. And both threes that he hit were essentially pick and pops. One, a very traditional pick and pop with Jamal Murray, where he set the screen, popped out to the top of the key, Jamal pitched it back, he hit a 3. The other one, Jamal is actually cutting in an off-ball action off of Jokic. Jokic is just holding the ball out up top. This is the one that was just over a minute left in regulation. And Jamal comes off of a little screen from Tim Hardaway Jr. and then curls around Jokic And what happens? Sengun has to drop back to help on Jamal cutting, which leaves Jokic open. He just rises up and knocks it down. So even though Jokic had the ball that whole time, it still fundamentally as a coverage works the same way as a pick and pop against drop, because the big is dropping, the on-ball guy, in this case, Jokic, is popping out, and he just hits that three over the top. And so as a result, like, both teams just could not get a stop down the stretch of this game because of the simple fact that they were unable to deal with their to get stops with their bigs in these pick and roll actions. Jamal Murray, I thought, did a masterful job of managing the ball screens the entirety of crunch time, generated a ton of advantages just by getting the ball to Jokic in the pocket. He had one where one of the consistent things that Denver was doing down the stretch of this game is they were trying to get Amen Thompson off of Jamal Murray. So the easy way to do that is just to have Tim Hardaway Jr. come over and set an early screen. You set that early screen to get Reed Shepherd switched onto Jamal. Then you run whatever action you want to run. But they had a play where Jamal just rejected the screen on Tim Hardaway Jr. and toasted Amen Thompson off the dribble. Sengun had to fly back in rotation. Easy little pocket pass to Jokic, swing to the corner, wide open Spencer Jones three. Another one where he got Reed Shepherd in a switch, early screen from Tim Hardaway, gets Reed Shepherd switched onto him. Then he runs the ball screen with Jokic. He easily gets Reed Shepherd caught on the screen. That forces Sengun to step up. Easy pocket pass to Jokic. Kevin Durant tags, another wide open corner three for Sengun. So what's the natural progression there? If Jamal Murray's torching you in the pocket, Sengun's going to be hesitant to leave the pocket, right? So that first layup that Jamal gets in overtime, what happens there? He's driving off the left side in a ball screen with Jokic. Sengun doesn't want to help because he's getting killed in the pocket. So Jamal's able to go right by Sengun and get a wide open layup. And then we continued to see Jamal hunt Reed Shepherd. The first bucket he got in OT was that little right shoulder fade. He got Reed Shepherd on a switch, walked him down to the right block, backed him down and hit a little right shoulder fade. Again, they scored on 7 consecutive possessions spanning the tail end of the fourth quarter and the start of overtime. And Jamal Murray was masterful running those ball screens in that sequence. And really where it all turned around, where the Nuggets were able to take an advantage, is they got 3 straight stops to start overtime. And one of the things that they did in order to try to force Houston into making a mistake is they were bringing Jokic up high to the level. They ended up hitting Sengun on a short roll pass on the first play of overtime, and he missed Jabari Smith wide open under the basket. Because he missed him, the play kind of broke down. It ended up in a tough, contested mid-range pull-up from Reed Shepherd. On their second possession of overtime, I thought Kevin Durant kind of rushed an ISO on Spencer Jones, just dribbled right up into a tough little left elbow jumper that he left short on the rim. And then we finally got to see a switch work for Denver as they switched Cam Johnson onto Sengun, and Sengun missed a left shoulder hook over Cam Johnson. And so 3 straight misses from Houston to start overtime, 3 straight makes from Denver to start overtime. We had a 7-point lead. They were unable to recover from that, even with Jokic fouling out of the game. And that's really the crux of the problem when it comes to guarding the Denver Nuggets in a close game. They've gone through, again, like if you look at those sequences, right? So both teams were struggling to guard the pick and roll, but there was a read that got missed on a Houston ball screen to start overtime. They hit a short roll to Jabari Smith, to Sengun, and Jabari Smith was wide open in the dunker spot on the right side. Alperen misses him. Whereas on the other end of the floor, whenever they got their 4-on-3s, Jokic is on time, on target, making the right read immediately every single time. And that's the thing. Like, these guys, like, Denver fans have been celebrating this thing. They're calling it Jokmas. And I believe, if I'm reading the tea leaves here correctly, they're just celebrating that around Christmas in 2016 was when Nikola Jokic entered the starting lineup for them. And it was like essentially the beginning of the Nikola Jokic era. And it's crazy because you go back and you watch footage from back then, and it's like, there's Jokic Murray 2-man game taking place damn near 10 years ago, guys. Like, that's the crazy thing about this. Like, there's no good answer for them because they've been seeing all of this shit for 10 years. If you run a traditional drop, they're going to kill you with Jokic popping to the top of the key or Jamal Murray hitting pull-up jumpers. If you key in on Jokic on the roll, Jamal's just going to drive right by you for a layup like he did to start overtime, right? Like, if you defend the action 3-on-2, Jokic is so good at making that skip to the corner immediately, on time, on target, that it becomes an extremely difficult rotation for the defense to make. Those were wide open looks for Spencer Jones, like wide open looks. And then if you do switch, which Houston didn't really try down the stretch of this game, but if you do switch, that's two of the very best one-on-one players in the league. And maybe Houston probably should have tried that, but I'm not sure it would have mattered. Because again, Jokic is probably going right to the post, and he's getting either a great shot for himself or drawing that second defender and causing the same issue. Again, like that was really the gist of the battle there, that both crunch time offenses were scoring at will, but Denver was able to get a kill, a sequence of 3 straight stops to start overtime while they continued to score on the other end, and that really was the difference in the game. Now, as far as the late game officiating goes, Houston fans are pissed off this morning because of a couple of bad calls at the end of the game. Specifically, a foul on a Jokic spin move. I didn't see, this is the one where Kevin Durant kind of raked over the top and it looked like he might have blocked him clean. I didn't get a good slow motion replay of this one, so I couldn't tell you for sure whether or not it was a good call. But yeah, it could have gone either way, right? And like if it was a non-call in the moment, I don't think it would have been too much of an issue. And then the foul on Amen Thompson, where he trips Tim Hardaway Jr., kind of flashing up to the top of the key at the end of regulation, which on replay, it did look like Amen Thompson's shin hit Tim Hardaway's foot and initiated the trip. But at the same time, it's like kind of incidental contact that happens all the time in basketball. And so I understand why that frustrates Rocket fans. But I'm going to say the same thing that I've said every single time something like this comes up. Officiating is a wild card at the end of games. It is a variable you have to be prepared for. It can go in your favor and it can go against you. There's going to be a half dozen or so whistles in any crunch time game, and you might get 4 of the calls and then 2 go against you. You might get 2 of the calls and 4 go against you. That's literally just the nature of the way these games go down the stretch. And it remains, to me, an absolute loser thing to focus on. Like, you were playing against the Nuggets, down 3 of their top 6 players and down all of their top athletes. No Aaron Gordon, no Christian Brown, no Peyton Watson. They had 0 vertical spacing on the floor. There were multiple sequences where Spencer Jones ended up in the dunker spot, and Jokic either didn't throw it because he's not going to be able to score there against all that size, or there was one where they did throw it to him and he had it deep sealed against Alperen Sengun, and he took like a little left shoulder hook and he smoked it off the back of the rim because he's shooting over a dude who's taller than him. They didn't have I can just throw this lob to Aaron Gordon and he's dunking it. Or I can throw this lob to Peyton Watson and he's dunking it. You had more than enough going in your favor to win a game like this. Do you think you lost because of a single Jamal Murray free throw off of a tripping foul? Or do you think you lost because you gave up a 144 offensive rating to Denver in 10 minutes of clutch basketball last night? Do you think you lost because you allowed them to score on 7 consecutive possessions spanning the end of the fourth quarter and overtime? That's why you lost the game, not because of a couple of questionable calls. I just think that's a loser way to approach the game. And frankly, like, it wasn't like there was some blatant, obvious screw job going on. They were calls that were kind of coin flippy calls that went against you, which is literally something we all know that can happen in a crunch time basketball game. And that's actually the bigger picture thing I want to focus on for both of these teams. Both of these teams have struggled a little bit in the clutch this year. Houston is 6-6 in clutch games, and Denver is 4-6. And for both of them, it's been their clutch defense that's been the problem. In Houston's 6 clutch losses, they've logged a 140 defensive rating. In Denver's 6 clutch losses, they've logged a 152 defensive rating. And for both teams, it's the same problem. Their bigs get attacked in ball screens and they can't get stops. And you just have to find a way. Like, Denver found a way in overtime. They tried putting 2 on the ball, and Sengun missed a read in the middle of the floor to Jabari Smith in the dunker spot. And they tried switching. Cam Johnson bodied up, forced Sengun into a hook shot that he actually missed. Houston literally could not find a way to get a stop until Jokic fouled out of the game. That's why they lost. If you can't get a stop on 7 consecutive possessions, you don't get to bitch about the refs. And the same goes for Denver. Like, if Denver wants to flip the script on their clutch issues this year and have some sustained success outside of just last night, they got to be better on defense. They almost lost this game too because they couldn't get a stop at the end of regulation. But at least with Denver, you can look at some reinforcements on the way. Again, they were down their 3 best athletes. One of the things that Denver has done consistently over the years to get stops in crunch time is put Jokic up at the level and trust their ability to rotate on the back line. That's worked for them in the past, but it's built on those athletes on the back line, which they don't have right now. For the record, I do think that's what Houston should do too. I would bring Sengun up higher, either in, super high drops where he's up at the level, or just straight up switch, and then trust your ability to rotate on the back line to help and recover behind him if he switches. Those are the kinds of things that I think accentuate Houston's strength as a roster, which is their athleticism. But all 4 stars showed out in this one. I thought KD was amazing. He didn't get many opportunities on offense, but he did capitalize when he did. And he was a problem for Denver with his defense down the stretch. His rim protection, he provides an element defensively in terms of that vertical rim protection that they haven't had really in this era. And it's kind of a force multiplier for this team because of how big and strong they are at the center position and how athletic they are on the perimeter. KD just brings that other layer. And he was blocking shots. He blocked Jokic at the rim. He blocked Jamal Murray at the rim. He stripped Nikola Jokic on a double team on a post up late in this game. He was like a defensive wrecking ball. And it's a casual reminder, KD, in the times that he has won championships, namely in Golden State, he was an incredible defensive weapon for those teams as well. Sengun, if you remember the last game, the game down in Houston, Jokic ate his lunch. I thought Sengun had a much better showing this time. 33, 10, and 10. Almost won the game late, beating Spencer Jones on that switch. Did a ton of work one-on-one against Jokic in this game. Was attacking him a lot early in the game. Hit a classic somber shuffle shot over the top of Jokic in the middle of the floor. Drove by him for a layup in overtime. Did a lot of damage. I thought he acquitted himself much, much better this time than he did the last time they faced off. But ultimately, Jokic and Murray were better. Jokic goes for 39, 15, and 10, just bullied Houston at the basket. He had 4 putbacks in this game. One of the things with Jokic that's so ridiculous is when he catches the ball in the middle of the floor and he shoots one of his floaters, he just follows his shot by battering ramming his way to the rim. And he just gets so many offensive rebounds that way. He had 4 of those where he missed a shot, got his own rebound, and just put it right back up and in. We talk about his kickouts in the short roll situations. Those were key, generating those quality looks for Spencer Jones. The 5 threes that he hit in this game, killing the Rockets, popping out of ball screens. And then Jamal Murray, 35, 3, and 5, was a maestro at the end of the game in pick and roll, generating advantages. Did a really good job getting to the foul line. He had a play where he saw Sengun trying to fight through an inverted ball screen, and he knew, he was like, Sengun's going to drop his shoulder and run me over. So he basically took a charge, so to speak, on a screen, got some free throws out of it. Had another one where he got Sengun in a switch where he dribbled all the way around the floor and then drove on him and ended up getting to the foul line. I think he had 14 or 15 foul shot attempts in this game. Did a good job working his way to the line. And then again, just making all those decisions and pick and roll that ran the Denver offense down the stretch. Highly entertaining game. I would love to see these 2 teams face off in a playoff series. Kind of an interesting sort of set of strengths and weaknesses between these 2 teams because they're so good, but they just have that issue getting stops at the end of games.